Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Greene, and today we have quite the fantastic array of fantasy news to get to, and then from there I'm going to have a pretty solid rant at the end of the video, and if you want to stick around for that, go right ahead. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into the wider fantasy news, starting with the fact that Amelie Wen Zhao's next book cover has been released. Red Tigress looks like what's on the screen right now. I'm going to talk a little bit longer just so you can see it a bit longer. This is the sequel to Blood, Air, and I'm pretty excited for this, even though I haven't read the first book. I don't know why. I just get excited for every book release. I'm a giant sucker for just things happening. It's why I'm good at this, I guess. But this book is described as the second book in an epic fantasy series about a princess hiding a dark secret and the con man that she must trust to liberate her empire from a dark reign. Available March of 2021. Wow, that's sooner than I realized when I first read this article. That is actually not that far off. 2020's ending before too long. Oh my god. I'm gonna go ahead and address the final result of the Way of Kings Leatherbound Kickstarter because, sweet Jesus, it was a success. A few weeks ago, Brandon Sanderson set out with the humble goal of reaching $250,000 for his Way of Kings Leatherbound edition. And yeah, he smashed that. That wasn't even like a problem at all. He hit it in a matter of minutes. And from there, his Kickstarter exploded into one of the most successful the website has ever seen, with a final result of $6.788 million raised from a total of 29,788 backers, which is just staggering. Sanderson has done something that'll go down in probably fantasy history. This is something that a lot of people are going to point to as maybe the most successful book Kickstarter of all time, which I think it is. Biggest, best crowdfunding project for anything like this. Wow. It's actually in the top funded Kickstarters page now of all time. Good job. I think from just everyone, wow. If you had told me, oh, Sanderson's setting out for a goal of $250,000 for his Leatherbounds, I'd go, oh, he's going to well past that. He'll hit like $1 million. And I would have felt like I was being a little generous, but well within the ballpark of reason. Little did I know that he'd hit $2 million pretty much right away, and then wouldn't stop until he reached nearly $7 million. Good Lord. Congratulations to the author and his team. Not only was this a very well put together and tight Kickstarter, but they've had just phenomenal live streams around it. If you actually kind of gave Sanderson's live streams a try back when he first got going and haven't checked back in, highly recommend you do because they have improved drastically from a setup standpoint. So whoever was in charge of that on the team, seriously, stupendously well done. But let's just go ahead and get through the rest of the Sanderson news we got here. We also had the next chapters drop for the Rhythm of War as they're doing this kind of roll them out online, so you can go ahead and link in the description down below if you'd like to read them. I'm holding off just for spoilery reasons. I don't want to get into those yet. And finally, we also had the German cover for Rhythm of War Part 1 released. It looks like what's on screen now. Need to fill time so the art doesn't go by too quickly. Hibbity hobbity hoobity bobbity. Let's get to the next news. We had a new image release for The Watch, the adaptation of Terry Pratchett's loosely Discworld, and I like it. It doesn't look bad, and I just, more than anything in the world in terms of adaptations right now, aside from obvious exceptions, want this to be outstanding. I love Terry Pratchett, and I think his legacy deserves all the praise, and I also believe his works deserve a phenomenal adaptation that his fans can share and be a part of. So this one, I like back to when I covered the Neil Gaiman, having his Facebook post where he's accepting that award ending with this is for you, Terry, and I was just like, oh, that hits. For some reason, even though I didn't start reading his works until kind of recently, Terry Pratchett has just found his way into my heart, and I adore the man's work. So I'm just wanting this so much to do Terry Pratchett's work justice, and I'm rooting for it. I'll be reviewing it here on the channel, and I'm hoping it's a positive one. Obviously, I won't change it to force it to be that way. I'll even give it a cursed level review if necessary, but I'm into this. I want this to be good. Make this good, please. It means a lot to me and a lot of other people. We also got the news of the latest drop from Andy Weir, the very popular modern sci-fi author of The Martian and Artemis. This next entry from him, called Hail Mary, is described as
Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate, last-chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and the Earth itself will perish, except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment and how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home, with nothing but 2 corpses for company. And it goes on from there, but I want to read the whole thing for you because some people probably don't care. Anyway, go ahead and check that out if you want to see Andy Weir's Hail Mary.
We also had Timothy Chalamet confirm that a Dune trailer will be dropping this month, so just kind of be on alert for that, I guess, because that's a long frame of time to be alert for, but whatever works and floats your boat. I also have had more than a couple people accuse me of racism for talking about and promoting the upcoming Dune movie, which, no. But I'll also have linked a video in the description down below from Quinn's Ideas that kind of goes over how this narrative got started and how it's not accurate. He knows Dune better than 99% of the people who have even probably read Dune, so I'll just let him handle that topic. And it kind of just stems from clickbaity journalism where people didn't actually read the material or understand that the person they're accusing of being like a white savior type isn't that, because he's not that. I don't want to get into spoilers for Dune. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. We had the second episode of Night City Wire from Cyberpunk 2077, and oh, it looked good. It definitely kind of showed a little bit more of the starting your own adventure side of this game. We got some interesting information from the interviews throughout. Just aesthetically got me hyped, totally in it. I'm currently being held over by Horizon Zero Dawn right now. I'm playing through it, which it's outstanding. I love that game. I've only ever played on the PS4, now playing on the PC, whole other experience. It's satiating me enough that I can wait for Cyberpunk 2077. I also want to clarify, the last time I covered this being delayed, some people were like, Daniel, it being delayed is a good thing because they're avoiding developer crunch. And I want to reiterate, I am aware, and I had actually really stressed that aspect of it the last time Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed. That's kind of a funny thing to say. But I just was like, oh, I covered that aspect of it before. I'll just kind of more meme on it this next time. And then some people who hadn't seen the first time were like, Daniel, this is good because developer crunch won't be happening. I also will just go ahead and take this moment to encourage people as a whole to look into this issue more and more because it is a big deal. And you're right, I shouldn't actually cover the delay of a game without at least mentioning it as a very good open reason for why delays should happen. And it's not just for Cyberpunk. Any game that's delayed so that they can help avoid that issue, I'm all for. They are also apparently reworking the melee combat system within Cyberpunk 2077 currently, and that's good to hear. I enjoy that quite a bit. Honestly, in all the demonstrations, that was like the one angle of it that like looked the weakest to me, so neat.
And in the irony of this is not lost on me because it was posted as I was editing this very segment news, Halo Infinite has officially been delayed to 2021, and if they're doing it to avoid crunching their developers, awesome. Happy about it.
We also had a new trailer for The Boys Season 2, which made me go, haha. It was funny. I look forward to it. I want to watch it. And now, okay, I'm going to try and cover this the best I can, but I am so disconnected from this franchise. I'm also going to just put that up front in clear here because I don't want to speak on behalf of the fans. But apparently, Prince of Persia from Ubisoft put out a new trailer for a VR experience that's kind of taking place within Prince of Persia, except apparently not even really. This just looked like a total, like, divergent from what those games originally were. Reshoots! Because this became an obsession of mine today. I needed to figure out what exactly is happening here because it gets weird. So starting off, let's just lay out why the fans are upset. They've been wanting a Prince of Persia game for a long time, and it's been told to them that they're getting one, and they've been waiting for it, patiently, excitedly, yeah, new latest generation Prince of Persia game. Except, that's not what's being delivered to them here. After announcing the game was delayed, they put out this trailer to satiate the audience, but what it seems to have purely done is inform the audience that what they're waiting for is not a full Prince of Persia game, but a VR escape room experience, and the trailer did not look awesome. So yeah, the fans are justifiably a bit peeved. They don't want this. It's not exactly a full Prince of Persia game, and most people still don't have VR. So, a little bit of a backhanded insult to people waiting so patiently, and the response was, well, as the gaming community is known, measured and relaxed. They memed it a lot. And as of me getting to covering this originally earlier in the day, they seem to have country restricted, because it says on the video this is not viewable in your country, the Prince of Persia trailer. Very confused by that. I don't know why they would not just take it down or leave it up entirely, but country restricted. They obviously still have a well below 50% approval rating, and the comments are turned off. But I wanted to know, okay, why? Why would you country restrict? So I decided, okay, they have to say something on Twitter. Ubisoft has to have tweeted about this right when they put it out. But here's the thing. This is where I started feeling insane. There is not an Ubisoft Twitter account out there that has covered this Prince of Persia release, aside from, this is the only one I could find covering it, Ubisoft Dusseldorf. What? Okay. There's so much. What? Alright, so this is the fantasy news. Daniel got way too obsessed with something that has no cathartic ending segment. And possibly by the time this video's out, will be cleared up. But for me, this was a good 3 hours of my day. And while we're filming reshoots, we might as well cover this New Mutants news that just got posted that I'm excited to see. New Mutants has a new release date in theaters, and that will be August 28th. That's just 2 weeks away, man. So they're going to be going for that IMAX full experience in the theater release. Now, a lot of New Mutants fans are probably really excited for this. I am definitely myself, and it might make market sense because there's certainly not going to be much competition. The people who are going to go see movies are going to go see New Mutants because that's going to be what's available. But I would imagine there's other contractual things happening here to also maybe put it in theaters first to eventually then have it on streaming services and video on demand, where I myself will probably be watching it because I still don't want to go risk exposing myself to what's out there just for the sake of a movie, no matter what the movie. So I'll be paying full price for video on demand for New Mutants excitedly, and wishing I could see it in theaters. We also got the news that Janelle Monáe's upcoming sci-fi horror thriller Antebellum will be released on demand September 18th. I almost said September 8th, but I'm glad I remembered that one. I didn't remember, I looked over, but you know what I mean. I'm a big fan of Janelle Monáe, her music, her acting, she's pretty outstanding, so I'm just looking forward to this movie. The trailer looks creepy as hell, and it has a lot to say, and I like movies that have a lot to say. And I'm sure some people will care news, but I don't particularly care that much news. Jared Leto posted on his social media that he's going to be involved in Tron 3. I don't really care about that franchise, and I don't really care about Jared Leto, so for those fans of that out there, cool, I guess. And now let's record a rant here. So in the last episode of Fantasy News, which I upfront addressed was going to be controversial, I had the comments I expected to get. There were people taking my argument too far to either side, people saying oh, you're completely saying George R. R. Martin was in the right and not accusing him of enough racism, and another bunch of people over here saying, oh, you're saying we need to erase all of Lovecraft's work and never read them, when I explicitly said that's not the standpoint I'm taking in either way. I said hey, yeah, his works can still be read and appreciated, just don't spend time propping him up on a pedestal. Here's also just something I put in the pinned comment, but it's something I do genuinely believe. Putting an adult on a pedestal and praising them like that, kind of just weird. Don't like it. Don't like these big ceremonies where we're all oh, we deify this person. Aren't they incredible? No, yeah, you can appreciate someone without doing stuff like that. I just don't like them for anybody. But yeah, I still don't like that they did that for Lovecraft. I also still acknowledge that Lovecraft work is interesting and a good read. I'm also very excited for Lovecraft Country, and I feel no guilt in covering it because it has a diverse cast of characters. It would probably piss Lovecraft off. That's fantastic. But the dumbest thing I saw, to the point where I was just okay, this person's not allowed to comment on my channel anymore, which I don't often do. Probably haven't done it yet this year, but just Jesus. Okay. A lot of times on YouTube, as a content creator, you will be exposed to people who will take the tiniest mistake and then try and inflate that to just be you have no right to have the platform you have. You're terrible and awful, even if it's just not related to the greater point you're making. So I made a mistake, and I don't try to erase my mistakes, because I'm not that kind of person. I made the mistake, which was a mistake, of saying that Worldcon was held every year in New Zealand. It's not. Here's a big fun fact. Not that much of a convention person. I've been to 3 in my life. I also just don't care about award ceremonies. I don't know where the Oscars are. I assume LA. Is that why that one theater is really popular? I don't know, because I don't care. But because I got this one location wrong for this part of what was like many things layered in each other, because that's what they're doing for conventions apparently, the person was like, you clearly don't know what you're talking about with anything and should just keep your mouth shut, and this is just completely justifying everything Martin said, and you're just wrong and terrible. Which is not related to the wider point, and is like, from someone with a rhetoric background, one of my biggest pet peeves, to just when I make an argument and then someone will take a part of it that's not the argument and try and like rebut that. That wasn't the point of it. Yeah, okay, I was wrong about the location. Doesn't mean it's not weird to sit there and praise Lovecraft for a long period of time. People are going to listen to this segment and take it too far to one way or the other. And they're going to make their comments as condescending and obnoxious as possible, because no one views content creators as like someone to have a dialogue with. They view them as people to snark at. And it's just wearing on me a little bit. And that's why for like the rest of the weekend, you're going to be getting some pre-recorded videos. You're going to be getting stuff that's just like, you know, I've had in the backlog, or I'm putting in the backlog today and tomorrow. And I'm not going to be involved in the comments or anything for a bit. I need a break from just the constant like voice that is the comment section by the head. I'm backing out. I'm just going, nah, not for me, for like 4 or 5 days. And I'm having a friend visiting. It's going to be a good weekend. And that's where I'm ending Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Join the Discord server and post any news you'd like to see covered in that Fantasy News channel. And to the one person who said because I like stuttered a word just like how I did with that one a second ago, that I'm clearly not intelligent enough to cover the news, I would love to hear you deliver a monologue and not flub one word. I'm going to require you to do that now before you ever speak again. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon. Thanks for upping your pledge, Harry McGurgle Howland.